Hey folks, Lenny Lawson here, the Car Guru. Welcome. I just wanted to let you know if you are listening to the radio show or the regular podcast through Spotify or all those other places you can get it. You can now get it through YouTube as well. I have a YouTube channel. Just go to the search bar or the search icon and type in My Car Guru Podcast. That's pretty simple. So the news I have for you today is that nobody knows what your vehicle is worth. Isn't that comforting? Let me give you the backstory. So yesterday I went to Oak Ridge, Tennessee. I was going to kill three birds with one stone. I had to drive my Porsche down to have it serviced at the Porsche dealership. Yes, that's what you're supposed to do. If you have a Chevrolet, you take it to the Chevy store. If you have a Ford, you take it to the Ford store. No, it's not more expensive. Certain repairs may be, but it's worth it. I'm a firm believer in it, folks. I've been a new car dealer. Well, I've been in this business for 48 years. We get a lot of referrals from independent shops that can't fix stuff. However, I have seen some customers go to a new car dealership and out of frustration, they go to an independent shop where they happen to fix it. Well, guess where that independent shop owner got his training? That's right. New car dealership. It's the only place to get it. The really highly sophisticated training. But anyway, so I had to get my car serviced. They're changing spark plugs. You know what you have to do to change oil in my Porsche? You have to take the rear bumper off. I know. So they're not doing that at Jiffy Lube. So I took it there, dropped it off. They gave me a really nice rental car. They have this machine that you drive through. Well, it's a camera system. It's right at the entrance of their service department. And you drive real slowly through this. And it hits you with I don't know how many cameras and lasers. It measures your tread depth. It identifies what brand of tires that you have. It will find every dent, ding, or scratch on your vehicle. It does a complete overall analysis of the outside of your vehicle. If you have a star in the windshield, it will see it. I guess it will see bird poop if you got it, and the service advisor will say, "Sir, you've got bird poop on your car." Thank you, I knew that. But yeah, it was amazing. How do they use that? Well, one of the things that they use that for is to make sure that, well, if the customer says, "Hey, I brought my car in here and it wasn't scratched and now it is." Well, they've got video evidence that it was scratched when you brought it in. So you never lie at Harper Porsche. So I dropped my car off. They gave me a nice brand new Macan or Macon, whatever you want to call it, to drive. It's a small Porsche SUV. Then I had to drive to Oak Ridge to look at a car collection. And it's not a huge car collection, but it's really cool. It's all Oldsmobiles. So this guy that owned this plant in Oak Ridge, he was a machinist, and he expanded his business to a very high level. They are actually a Toyota supplier now, but the father passed away. He loved Oldsmobiles, and so he had all these cars in there. The first one was a 1928 Oldsmobile Coupe. Probably has some kind of a letter designation, but I haven't done the research on it yet. Extremely nice condition, totally restored. And we looked at it first, and they said, "What do you think this is worth?" And I said, "Sir, I've got to do some research. I've never seen one of these. This is a rare bird." He said, "Yeah." And so anyway, the next car, 1958 Oldsmobile 98 convertible, black, two-door, absolutely gorgeous, restored to a very high level, modified in some ways in that it has two-wheel disc brakes in the front, and they've installed air conditioning on the vehicle, an aftermarket air conditioner. It's made by a company called Vintage Air. Does that hurt the value? Well, if you're trying to win an AACA show event for a vehicle that's totally original, yes, that would definitely hurt the vehicle. But to make it more drivable and enjoyable for a black car to have air conditioning, that's a good thing. That makes it more valuable. What's it worth? He said, "Sir, I'm going to have to do some research." We go to the next car. Right beside it is a four-door 1958. Now, I'm not normally a four-door guy. But this thing was so cool. And it's just this mint green color with a white top and more chrome than I have ever seen on a car. I thought my 57 Chevy had a lot of chrome on it, not compared to this Oldsmobile, this four-door Oldsmobile. And I just loved it. What's it worth? Sir, I'm going to have to do a little research. It really didn't. He didn't keep asking me that. We did it all. I just doing that for dramatic effect. And then the coup de grace was the 1959 Oldsmobile 98 convertible. Red and white and gorgeous. I've never seen more red on a car than this car had. It had headlights in the grill that looked like they were floating. They weren't like recessed into a housing. They actually, the chrome part kind of sticks out. They are the coolest looking things. Have I ever seen one before? No. What's it worth? Don't know. Got to do some research. So I asked him, we talked about it, and he's wanting me to sell them. He's wanting me to of course, maximize the dollar for his family. I said, why don't you want to keep them? And he said, this is not my thing. He said, I like fast boats, fast cars, and I like working. And these old cars, they just sit here and they're collecting dust. I appreciate my dad for having them, but I'm not interested. And he had a cousin that was there, and everybody had different opinions about the cars. But I picked out one particular person. He was the cousin that had the most knowledge about the cars, and that was the one I knew that I was going to have to please when it came to pricing these cars and trying to get a reasonable number out of them, because the son had no clue, and he was relying on the cuz. So he and I talked, and I said, what do you think about these cars? And he told me what he thought about each one. And I said, well, I understand where you're coming from, but what research have you done? And he said, none. So what's he basing his opinion as far as value is concerned? His gut. How reliable is that? It's not. I looked up the trends on all of these cars. All the trends are down. The values are going down. They've gone down 5% just in the last year. Well, the 258s and the 59 have. But I think that I can find the right people using some of these big online auction sites, where we'll know pretty soon what the value is. And the value is what? That's right. It's what somebody is willing to pay for it. When you have a lot of eyes all over the world on a car, and it only brings $20,000, and you don't sell it because you think it's worth more than that, you're probably wrong. I'll be back in just a minute. So what's a person to do? You've got a vehicle. You've owned it for 4 or 5 years, and you want to trade it. You're sick of it. I mean, it's been a good car. You've serviced it at the dealership the whole time. You've done everything you're supposed to do. You've kept all your records. It's got good tire tread depth on it. There's one little star in the windshield. You just haven't called Safelite yet to come fix it. But other than that, you've taken good care of your car. You've got records. All your receipts are crammed in your glove box. That's the least you can do. If you keep it in a little book, it's more impressive. But yeah, you've got all your repair orders. And so you go in and you go to the dealership, and they offer you $8,000 for your car off of MSRP on a brand new one. Is that a deal? Is that something you should do? Should you look at what the monthly payment is on that? See, that would be a big no at that point. Remember the 4 targets. You negotiate each one separately. If you wonder what that is, get a copy of the My Car Guru guidebook. It's free. And just text me your email address to 423-552-2020, and I'll turn you a PDF around to get it to you. And then you'll know what the 4 targets are. I may come up with a 5th one, but as of this point, there's only 4. So how do you know if that's a deal? Well, first you have to do the research on what vehicles like the one you're looking at are bringing. What are they asking for it at different dealers? If you're looking at Honda Accord. Have you seen the new front end on the Honda Accord? Not liking it. You know what I think they're trying to do? I think they are trying to copy Hyundai. It looks like a Hyundai Sonata now from the front. And I don't like that look, that small grille. That's my opinion. But anyway, you're looking at a Honda Accord and you shop around. Pick 3 different dealership websites. You find a vehicle that's equipped like the Accord that you're interested in, and you see how they're pricing them. Now, a lot of dealers will put on their call for price. Who are you going to talk to when you call? In most dealerships, you're talking to a female, and they will be working in the business development center. And they might get you a price, but there's no guarantee. I was listening to it was on TikTok, and this guy was recording a conversation with a salesperson. And he said, well, I just want a price on, matter of fact, it was on a Honda Accord. He said, can you give me a price on the car? I said, sir, we don't give prices over the phone. I just dropped my pen. What do you mean you don't give prices over the phone? I mean, I'm not going to come down there to the dealership just hoping you're going to give me a good price. I mean, I'm having to drive 60 miles. Well, sorry, sir, that's just our policy. What would you say in that circumstance? I know what I would say. Well, I'll just go to ABC Motors instead of you, and then hang up. If a dealership won't give you a price over the phone, is that like any other industry in the world where you can't get a price on something? I mean, heck, you can get a price on toilet paper and Amazon. Shouldn't you be able to get a price on a car? You know why they don't want to give you a price? Because they want control of you. They want you to come into the dealership, sit down with them. They want to take your trade-in keys and throw them up on the roof. And then, not really. Well, so I've heard of some people doing, or some dealers doing that. They can't find your keys when you're ready to go. I don't know what happened to those keys. We'll just have to put a search out. Yeah, that's not the place you want to be. But yeah, they want you to sit down. They want to be able to, in a controlled environment, and give you a price then. And then when you say, well, that's too much, then they know that there's some negotiating to be done. And it's better to negotiate with somebody that's sitting in front of you. I have no question about that. But you got to be willing to give them a price. And they can say, well, you know, I've shopped around and your price isn't the lowest. I said, well, sir, you know, I realize it may not be the lowest. And when you shop around, you've got to look at all the different things that could happen when you go into a dealership. I've had customers go out of town, drive hundreds and hundreds of miles because they thought the quote over the phone was what they could buy the car for. And then they get there, and the crooks say, well, sir, we forgot to tell you that there is an optional package that has been installed on this vehicle. See this extra sticker beside the sticker? That's an extra $3,200 you have to pay. And you look at it and you say, what's marketing margin? Or what's market value adjustment? Well, that's, sir, that's just where blah, 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 blah. And then you've wasted a lot of time. So you have to verify. How do you verify a price over the phone? You get them to send you a signed deal sheet or buyer's order signed by a manager with all the numbers broken down. And then you've got something. And you say, okay, so what you folks are saying is when I come in, I've got this sheet. It has all the taxes, has everything broken down, doc, fee, everything else. This is what I can buy the car for, and you're not going to pressure me to pay any more. That's correct. I would record that conversation as well. So you drive 200 miles. You don't drive 200 miles because they had the lowest price online that you could find. And you certainly don't drive anywhere if they won't give you a price over the phone. It's ridiculous. Gives all car dealers a bad name. And then you get to the trade-in. And they estimated over the phone what your trade-in would be worth. But then you bring it in. You've driven 200 miles. See, that's another thing. So what you do before you drive 200, and I'm saying don't drive 200 miles, just drive to Greenville, if you live in the Tri-Cities, and you don't have to put up with all that crap. But if you think that you have to go this long distance because you've done the research and you take your trade-in down there, they're going to disappoint you with something. So what you do is you take pictures of your vehicle, lots of pictures. You give them the VIN number so they can pull a Carfax. You tell them the miles. Eliminate all possibilities of them dropping their bid. If you just go in there and after you've talked to them over the phone, well, it ought to be worth somewhere between 10 and 12, then you'll be lucky if you get 10. But if you have tread depths, that's how deep the tread is on your tires, you've done a video, you've sent that to them, you've walked around it, taken pictures of the interior, you've listed all the options. Hopefully you still have a copy of the window sticker on the car. You take a picture of it. You tell them to pull a Carfax, and you tell them, said, listen, whatever number you give me, that's what I expect to get because I provided you with all this information. And if they say, well, no, we can't really do that. We can't buy a car over the internet, over the phone. Yes, they can. They do it every day when they buy cars from online auctions. They do it all the time. And they don't see as good of pictures as you're going to send them. And they have to make quick judgment decisions at the auction. Because a car goes across the auction block about every 30 seconds, and I'm not kidding. It doesn't sit there long. And if they get all this information, they can't give you a number on your car. That's baloney. Okay, so let's recap. You're going to get a firm price on the vehicle. You're going to get a firm price on your trade-in. And you're going to take away their excuses for not being able to give you a firm price. And then you're going to get a copy of a buyer's order or the deal sheet, whatever they want to call it, sales contract, and it's going to be signed by a manager. That's another thing, is if it's not signed by a manager, it doesn't mean much. And then you book your reservations if you feel like you have to go to town. But here's what I would do. I would take that bid from that dealer that's 200 miles away, signed buyer's order, and I would go to the closest dealership to you that sells that brand. Let's say that you're looking at a Chevrolet or a Chevrolet, and you live in the Tri-Cities. You got a bid from, that big mega volume dealer up in northern Kentucky, Cummins, Dan Cummins. They sell more cars online than just about anybody does. So they send you a buyer's order. I'd march right down to Champion Chevrolet and hand it to the desk manager and said, this is what I can buy this vehicle for at Dan Cummins. This is what I've done. Will you get this vehicle for me, or do you have this vehicle in stock? Because I'd rather buy it from you. And most of the time, they'll do it. Well, let me qualify that. If they feel that you're just shooting from the hip and you're just saying, well, they said they'd sell it to me for this, they're not going to believe it. Sorry, but a lot of customers lie. No, if they see something in writing, you've got a buyer's order, it's signed by a manager, it's got a recent date on it, it wasn't from a year ago, it's from yesterday, and you walk in there and you show that to them, they'll sell you that car for that because they want to keep you as a customer. And then I think you need to be loyal to them. I'm the kind of guy that if I went in there and got a price from them and it was a little high, and then I went to Dan Cummins and it was a lot lower, before I go to Dan Cummins, I'm coming back to them. I'm going to give them a second chance because I'd rather buy it locally. I'd rather keep my sales tax dollars at home. Because when the state, in Tennessee, when the state collects sales tax, and we have no state income tax, but when they collect sales tax in the state of Tennessee, it goes to Nashville. We write a check, big old check to Nashville every month. All those sales tax dollars on the cars that we sold. Some cars will have, $8,000 worth of sales tax on it, on a really expensive car. And the people didn't have any trade-in. All of that goes to the state of Tennessee, and they send about half of it back to the community where it was originated. And so what do they use that for? To pay for policemen, schools, firemen, streets, stuff that we need. And so sometimes it makes sense to buy at home. I'll be back in just 1 minute. I've had some customers say, well, I'm not doing that. I'm not giving them a second chance. Well, the thing about it is if you come to me and you say, I want to buy that Nissan Altima, and I give you a price on it, and I'm pricing it to make a profit, but let's say that I've offered to sell it to you for $200 over my invoice price, which is what I originally paid for the car, and then I get 1.5% holdback, and if I hit my unit objective for the month, then Nissan will pay me some money at the end of the month. It's not a lot, but they'll pay me some. And then you say, well, I'm going to go shop this price. Now, what's the most that you can beat my deal? Maybe $400 or $500. And so, you come back. You go to someplace else, I've got you beat by $500. And you come back and say, will you do this? I'm going to say, yeah, I will do it. And you shouldn't be mad at me for pricing the vehicle to you higher than that before, because this is a business. You go to Walmart. They have a lot higher margin on their products than we do as cars, any place. And I just think it's better to do business locally and to try just a little bit harder to do it locally, because I really think the local guy will appreciate it. He'll take better care of you as a customer. You get to know the service advisors locally. It just makes sense. But we've become this world where everything has to happen, instantly and online, and we don't trust car dealers to begin with, and there are ways around that. You can engineer it in a way that you're not going to get burned because, you're following what I'm telling you to do. So share this podcast with anybody that you know that's in the market for a vehicle, and they don't know what their car's worth, and they don't know what to pay for a new car. It's not that hard. Again, it's on YouTube under My Car Guru Podcast, or you can find it anywhere, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, Andrew. It's all over the place, and it's on local radio in the Tri-Cities. And if I can help you with anything, you know how to get me. It's my cell phone. Text me, 423-552-2020, and I'll see you on the next edition of My Car Guru.